Hey everyone, it's Alex here, and this is going to be a showcase of the mod Igni Ferroque. This is a multiplayer mod that sticks closely to the vanilla feel and works with it to create a new balance that should reward better strategy. So I'm going to cover the major changes now, starting with unit roles. Most units have been made specialised to fill certain roles, so pause it now if you want to read the list of unit roles. I've also added the unit role in the description, as well as the range of a weapon if it's a projectile weapon, so you know what role a unit has when you're buying it. By adding these unit roles, I've been able to make counters stronger. If you don't know what counters are, here are some basic ones. Spearmen beat cavalry, cavalry beat archers, archers beat spearmen. These examples aren't 100% true all of the time, but you get the idea. One type is designed to beat another type. In vanilla Medieval 2, these counters aren't particularly important, and you can even win battles without knowing them. But in Igni Ferroque, all counters are made a lot stronger, and a few additional counters have been added. So like spear cavalry, which are cavalry good against other cavalry. Because I've made the counter stronger, I've also been able to make a greater difference between cheap and elite troops, while also keeping it balanced. So here's a dismounted feudal knight compared to a dismounted chivalric knight in vanilla, and then again in Igni Ferroque. You might think this is kind of overpowered, but they are strong counters, so look what happens from just one charge of a low to medium tier shock cavalry. Or advancing its crossbow fire. Or against catapults. Maybe even a bit of quick fire. So in summary, elite units are a lot more powerful, but you do have to use them wisely, because if your opponent manages to counter them, then that's a lot of money you've just thrown away. You gotta make up that cost. Next up is a really basic change. Lighter units are faster and heavier units are slower. It's pretty simple, but it does make a huge difference to gameplay, and it actually makes light units worth getting in quite a few scenarios. It also helps balancing those very heavy infantry units and those very light infantry, like the Aztecs have the really light, fast troops. And in vanilla, there's this, I don't know if it's intentional or not, but quite a lot of light cavalry is the same speed as mailed knights, which kind of defeats the point of light cavalry, and I've addressed that. This next one might seem like a tiny change again, but it does wonders for the balance between factions. I've given every faction the ability to stop cavalry charges dead, either with a phalanx unit like pikes or with stakes. So no longer will you be a Byzantine player and unable to do anything about your opponent mercilessly cycle charging your whole army to death. Another simple change is no two units in a faction are identical. So in vanilla there's stuff like spear militia and spear levy, peasant archers, archer militia, stuff like that. But in this mod, I'll give you an example actually. So peasant crossbowmen and crossbow militia for the western factions are exactly the same in vanilla. But in Igni Ferroque, there are more men in the peasant unit, and therefore they have more damage output because there's more of them shooting their bolts. But they have less morale and very slightly worse combat stats, so they're less reliable if they get caught. This just adds variety, and there's no real downside that I can think of. Another one, unlike in vanilla, anti-armor weapons such as axes, maces, and other weapons with the effective against armor trait are actually good against armor. So I really needed to get this going so you can actually counter those very heavy armored units. So yeah, again with the counters. Now with the vanilla theme again, phalanx units, the pikes, halberds, vultures, sword staffs, all of the ones that you can put them in the phalanx stance, I fixed them all. So Pikemen, I've made them close together, so it's much harder for the enemy to just walk through them and break up the whole formation. They're a lot better against cavalry too, which is one of their main uses. Stuff like halberds, I've made them quite close together sideways, but quite far apart, going down the ranks. So the first wave kind of breaks the enemy's charge, and the second one comes in with the hits to help the first wave. And then Vulcan sword staff, they're similar to halberds, but they're slightly different. Yeah, I'm not like trying to bash the vanilla or anything, but you know, I'm just trying to improve on it. Artillery flaming rounds are much more effective against units, while the standard shot is more accurate and better against buildings. So if the enemy is quite densely packed, this can do a lot of damage. But if you want to pick out a certain unit, you might want to just use the standard shot. I should also add that this mod is balanced for huge army size, so make sure to set that in the main menu and game settings. Because you know, 4 ballistas in a unit might be a bit much for a small army size. Lastly, I've added a few units. Right now it's just a mangonel and a Greek firethrower, but more are planned. If you're curious and want to try the mod, all the links will be in the description. The Total War Center forum post has the download links and info, and the Steam group is for finding other people who use the mod, you know, so you can play against them, because this is a multiplayer mod after all. The install instructions are actually pretty simple, and they're in a text file in the .zip download, and if you follow it step by step, you shouldn't mess it up. If people are having trouble, I'll make a video on how to install it, but I don't think I'll need to do that. Please do leave suggestions and feedback, good and bad, and I'll see you next video.